Are you or are you not a Kendrick Lamar fan? If you are, you'll probably spend the next 10 minutes passionately expressing your agreement or disagreement with the content that I have for you today. If you're not, well, let's put it this way. Kendrick Lamar is one of the most complex and prolific artists that the music industry has ever seen. Since his career began in the late 2000s, he has released hundreds of songs. What if I told you that I could sum up his illustrious career in just 5 songs? Let's get right to it. This is Fave in 5. Now, if you're new to Fave in 5, allow me to explain how this works. When I say Fave in 5, I don't necessarily mean that artist's 5 best songs in terms of production value or lyrical content or even commercial performance, though all those things will be taken into consideration. When I say Fave in 5, I mean 5 snapshots of that artist's personal and professional growth. Where that artist began, what that artist has gone through, and where that artist is at the moment. Get it? Got it? Good. Now let's begin. Oh, wait. Let me give you a little hint of how this Fave in 5 will play out. One powerful theme of Kendrick Lamar's discography is salvation. From the very beginning, Kendrick Lamar has envisioned himself as a charismatic figure, an iconic leader that will lead his people to the promised land and deliver them from damnation. The question is, has Kendrick Lamar achieved his goal, or is he a failed messiah? Let's find out. First up, from his 2011 project Section 80, we have Rigamortis. Back in the early 2010s, a teenager decided that it was up to him to save the entire hip-hop industry. Kendrick Lamar apparently didn't like what he was seeing, nor was he liking what he was listening to. Think of Rigamortis as his way of playing the game to change the game. How can you be a savior if you can't even walk the talk? And boy, did Kendrick walk the talk in this very track. Think of all the intricate flows and all the poetic devices he employed here. Internal rhyme, multisyllabic rhyme, half rhyme, alliteration, consonants, wordplay, the list goes on and on. So this is Kendrick Lamar putting his foot down and saying, I'm the genius in the classroom, you all listen to me, y'all follow my lead because I will save the rap genre. And if you don't, well, you get slain, you get obliterated. In the very chorus of this song, he says, don't ask for your favorite rapper, he dead. Your favorite rapper's dead, your favorite rapper's dead, and oh, your favorite rapper's dead as well. But don't forget that with death comes rebirth. And so, with Rigamortis, Kendrick Lamar is beginning to resurrect the rap game. Next up, from his 2012 Aftermath debut, we have Mad City. Kendrick Lamar, let's be very clear about this, isn't just some linguistic whiz flaunting his skills haphazardly in order to crack a joke or two, living for the punchlines, like a lot of rappers do. Instead, he harnesses his gifts to achieve a greater purpose. And in his 2012 album Good Kid, Mad City, his purpose was to save the people of Compton, his hometown. In this track, Mad City, which I believe to be that album's creative and artistic pinnacle, he paints such a vivid picture of the Compton that he and his homies grew up in. Gang violence, police brutality, drug abuse, peer pressure. But he isn't just painting this picture just to shock the world. Instead, he's trying to change his hometown by pointing at himself as Compton's human sacrifice that made it out of that harsh environment. Ultimately, his goal was to make sure that the young boys and girls growing up in Compton would break the vicious cycle just as he did and eventually transcend that environment and make something out of themselves. Kendrick Lamar, ladies and gentlemen, Compton's human sacrifice. That phrase does sound a little bit familiar, does it? Next up, from his 2015 project To Pimp a Butterfly, my favorite Kendrick Lamar album, but that's neither here nor there, we have Alright. I'd like to think of Good Kid, Mad City and To Pimp a Butterfly as 2 different tiers of Kendrick Lamar's salvation tour. In Good Kid, Mad City, he's trying to save the young boys and girls of Compton. But in To Pimp a Butterfly, he realizes that an entire country needs saving from the same social ills that he saw in his hometown, manifested as Uncle Sam's materialism and consumerism. But in Alright, Kendrick Lamar tells us the solution. If God got us, then we will be alright. So yes, there is an element of religious and spiritual salvation in Kendrick Lamar's music. Now, if only one person were touched by this song, I'm pretty sure Kendrick Lamar would say mission accomplished. As it turned out, more than one person embraced this song. Of course, we know that over the past few years, social protesters all across the United States of America, particularly the Black Lives Matter movement, have embraced this song as a sort of empowering chant, a rallying cry that is able to vocalize all their hopes, their fears, and their ambitions for a better society in the US. I don't know if that was Kendrick Lamar's intention to become the rallying cry of an entire social movement, but hey, he did want to be a savior, right? So I guess we can end the Salvation Tour right here, right now. Of course, we're not going to. As a matter of fact, we have 2 songs left in this collage of Kendrick Lamar's story. Fourth on our list, from his 2017 Pulitzer Prize-winning project Damned, we have Fear.
I probably die because these colors are standing out. I probably die because I ain't know the markets.
So let me get this straight. Kendrick Lamar reached the summit of the music industry. He became a shining beacon, as he's always wanted, first to his people in Compton, then to his entire country, for crying out loud, and if we're being honest, the world. So, end of story, right? Mission accomplished. Wrong. Once Kendrick Lamar got on top, apparently, as this album shows us, he felt lonely at the top. He felt bleak. He felt vulnerable. He felt a certain emptiness, but he couldn't quite put his finger on it. Apparently, there was something else that he needed to save, but he couldn't figure it out. Instead of that feeling of euphoria that he had perhaps envisioned once he got on top as the savior, he felt the most human emotion, sensation of all, and that was fear. In this track, he tells us how at 7 years old, at 17 years old, and at the time that he was writing this song at 27 years old, a lot of his decisions have been fueled by fear. And at that point, when he was writing this song, what he was afraid of was losing it all. Would he be like the biblical figure Job, owning it all, basking in glory, only for God to take it all away? He also feared losing the loyalty of those around him, and he also feared that his legacy would be remembered as anything else than the very top dog. So in this track, Kendrick Lamar begins to deconstruct himself. He begins to let loose and show us that even saviors need saving themselves. Last on our list, and I know you're about to fight me right now because I'm leaving a ton of Kendrick Lamar bangers on the cutting room floor. Nevertheless, from his 2022 album Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, we have Count Me Out.
All those fails, I was myself. Outdone fear, outdone myself. This year you better...
Now, don't count me out of YouTube just now. Please, I beg of you. Let me explain why Count Me Out best rounds up this collection of snapshots from Kendrick Lamar's life and career. You see, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers continues the process of deconstruction that he began in 2017's Damned. But in the first half of this album, we hear Kendrick expressing hesitation to undergo therapy, as recommended by his longtime partner Whitney. However, in the second half of this album, thankfully, Kendrick realizes that Whitney was on the right track all along. In fact, Count Me Out is the very first song of this second half, and at the very beginning of this track, we hear Whitney say, Session 10, here's the breakthrough, the epiphany, the realization that Kendrick finally reached. Before he can save the rap industry, his hometown, his country, hell, the world, he first has to save himself. And if you listen closely to this song's first chorus all the way to the end, I believe that that entire chunk of the song is Kendrick talking to himself. He loves it when he himself counts himself out because it is him finally taking off that crown, that weighty crown off his head, and finally shedding off that savior persona and just basically learning to love himself, flaws and all. At the end of the day, the best person that you can save is that person staring yourself in the mirror. And I have to tell you this, on a final note, I had an intense debate with myself regarding which song to place in the final slot of this Faven 5. Was it Count Me Out, the pinnacle of that realization, but still a work in progress, with Kendrick not quite reaching the finish line yet, but on the right track? Or would it be Mirror, the final track of that Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers project, in which he finally says, sorry, I choose myself, I choose me? At the end of the day, I went with the track that I believe reflects him as an uncompleted project. All in all, if there's one thing that we learned from Kendrick Lamar, it is this. He may be a brilliant poet, a charismatic figure, an inspiration to social movements across the globe, but he is not your savior. As to who that savior is, there is only one. Thanks for watching Faven 5, everyone. Hit me up in the comments. Which of my picks did you like? Which of my picks were straight up trash? And which of my picks befuddled you? That's a word Kendrick Lamar would use. Like and share this video. Hit the subscribe button. Click the notification bell. And until the next Faven 5 video, it's your boy The Saga. I'm out.